We spend billions building these incredible digital fortresses to protect our data. But what if the biggest threat isn't some super sophisticated piece of code? What if it's something, well, a lot more familiar? Today, we're diving into cybersecurity's human factor. Seriously, think about it for a second. It's not a secret supercomputer. It's not some crazy new exploit. It's something much, much closer to home. So let me ask you, what do you think is the single greatest weakness in all of our digital defenses? Well, in a lot of ways, the answer boils down to this one number, 82%. Just look at it. What on earth could that possibly represent in the world of cybercrime? That number? That's us. That's the human element. A 2022 report from Verizon found that a staggering 82% of all data breaches involve a person on the inside. You know, a clicked link, a password that's a little too simple, just a brief moment of not paying attention. It proves this isn't just a tech problem, it's a people problem. And that brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. We, the people, using the computers, are in this weird position. We're supposed to be the first line of defense against an attack. And yet, statistically, we're also the most likely reason an attack succeeds. It's a really fascinating paradox, isn't it? Okay, so to really get why we're so critical in this equation, we first have to appreciate the scale of what we're up against. We've moved so far beyond the simple computer viruses of the past. Today's cyber threats are incredibly complex, they're targeted, and they can be just devastating. A perfect and pretty terrifying example is ransomware. This isn't just an annoyance, it's basically digital hostage-taking. Attackers get in, they lock up all your important files, everything from family photos to the entire network of a company, and then they demand a massive payment, usually in crypto, to give you the key. It is one of the most serious threats out there right now. And you know, these threats look different depending on where you are in the world. It's not a one-size-fits-all problem. In places like the US or Japan, the big fear is a major attack on critical infrastructure, maybe from another country. But in other parts of the world, cybersecurity is all tangled up with on-the-ground issues like organized crime, terrorism, and political instability. So here's the big takeaway. This has escalated way beyond just a few hackers in a basement. We are now talking about national security. Cybersecurity is a huge piece of the geopolitical puzzle, and it's shaping how countries deal with each other, how they compete, and even how they fight wars. So what really happens when these defenses, whether they're human or technical, actually fail? The consequences are massive, and they go way beyond just losing a bit of data. Let's just talk money for a second. According to a 2023 IBM report, the average cost of a single data breach has hit almost $4.5 million. And that number covers everything, from hiring experts to figure out what happened, to the damage to a company's reputation, to massive government fines. The financial stakes are absolutely enormous. Now, these huge costs aren't just hurting companies. They're creating some serious tension between countries. To understand how governments are reacting, we can look at a few big ideas from the world of geopolitics. First up is realism. This basically says that online, just like in the real world, countries are mostly looking out for number one. They build up their cyber capabilities for the same reason they build up their armies, to get an edge and make sure they can protect themselves. And that leads right into the next idea, which is deterrence. You can think of it like a digital arms race. The theory is, if you can show the world you have really powerful cyber weapons and super strong defenses, other countries will be too scared of what you might do back to even think about attacking you. It's about preventing a war by showing you're ready to win it. But it's not all just about threats and power. There's another way to look at it, called constructivism. This one argues that what really matters are the shared ideas and norms we all agree on. This is where things like international treaties and global agreements come into play, trying to create a set of rules of the road for how everyone should behave online. Okay, I know, hearing about all these threats, these high stakes, this global tension, it can feel pretty overwhelming. But here's the good news, we can actually fight back. And the solution? It starts right back where the problem began, with us. See, the most powerful weapon we have is something called digital literacy, and it's really built on 4 simple pillars. First, just being able to spot threats when you see them, like a sketchy phishing email. Second, locking your digital doors with strong passwords and, this is so important, using multi-factor authentication. Third, basic maintenance, keeping your software up to date. And finally, just being smart about protecting your personal data. And this just goes to show how powerful we can be when we turn that human weakness into a strength. A study from McAfee found that a good digital literacy program can slash the risk of a successful cyber attack by up to 70%. 70! That's not a small improvement. That's a total game changer. And the data totally backs this up. For instance, just by training people with fake phishing emails, companies can cut the number of clicks on real malicious links by nearly 40%. And what about multi-factor authentication? Get this. Microsoft says that one simple step can block 99.9% of automated password attacks. These aren't complicated, expensive fixes. They're simple human actions that have a massive, massive impact. But, and this is a big but, we can't get complacent. This isn't a problem we can just solve once and then forget about. The digital battlefield is constantly changing, and the threats are evolving at a lightning-fast pace. I mean, just look at ransomware again. Back in the 80s, it was a pretty basic piece of malware. Then, in the 2010s, cryptocurrency came along, and suddenly attackers could get paid anonymously, which fueled a huge boom. A few years later, we saw ransomware as a service, where anyone could rent the tools to launch an attack. And today, now they use double extortion. They don't just lock your data, they also threaten to leak it to the public if you don't pay. See? The threat never stops adapting. So the challenge ahead is pretty clear. We're facing attacks that get more sophisticated every single day. New tech like AI and the Internet of Things are creating all sorts of new backdoors for attackers to exploit. That means our defenses have to constantly adapt, and it means that countries working together becomes more important than ever before. And all of this brings us right back to that central question. As we live more and more of our lives online, we have to decide. Are we, the people at the keyboard, our single greatest liability? Or, if we have the right knowledge and the right tools, can we become our own ultimate defense? The answer to that question is going to define the future of our digital security.